genre.
Doctor Who, The Long Way Round, the weekly podcast where we review, discuss, and recap every episode of Doctor Who, one doctor at a time. I'm Scott Corelli.
I'm Cassandra Fredrickson.
And I'm Nick Jimenez.
And today on the show, we'll be discussing The Sword of Orion, the Eighth Doctor's third story. Written by Nicholas Briggs, directed by Nicholas Briggs, post-production by Nicholas Briggs. And
he's a regular Scott Corelli.
But this is the Big Finish production story. The only bit of background I have for this it's two things. So this is the continuing adventures of the Eighth Doctor and Charley, his new companion, his new Big Finish companion. And in this story in particular it's actually an adaptation of a Doctor Who monthly comic book story featuring the Eighth Doctor and the Cybermen. And that's what it is. And this is the first time that the Cybermen had appeared in a Big Finish audio adventure. And obviously the first time that the Eighth Doctor had ever gone up against the Cybermen, when the Eighth Doctor was being played by Paul McGann, and not just an illustration of Paul McGann as the Doctor.
Right.
So yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a story that I like quite a bit for being a Cybermen story, which we're not overly fond of around these parts.
We're a Dalek household.
Yeah, well, the Cybermen are just very easy to mess up.
Yeah, they're hard to get right.
They're hard to get right. They're very easy to make boring. And luckily, this one is not those things, I don't think.
Is there any news?
Really?
Any news in the world of Doctor Who?
No.
Okay.
So, all right. Nick, take it away with Sword of Orion Part 1.
If I must.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, that big dumb dragon from Storm Warning is sick. And we open and he's like roaring and stuff. And Charlie's like, oh, Ramsey. And Doctor's like, I'm going to slit that thing open if it doesn't shut up. And she's like, oh. It's like,
is that because its name is Ramsey? And
oh, no. I wasn't even thinking about that.
No. Okay.
Yeah, so the Doctor's like, oh, it's because he's away from the time vortex. And that's what is this thing? What's its species? Can you guys remember? I don't want to keep calling it a dragon.
It's a vortisaur.
A vortisaur. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the vortisaurs. Vortisaurs got a vorts. So like, it's been away from the time vortex for too long. I know a way to get it back to full health. And Charlie's like, you gonna tell me? And Doctor's like, not. So they go to the year 2503. It's in the middle of something called the Orion War. And we come to a ship called the Silver Jackal, which is receiving contact from a patrol ship. A member of the crew named Digley convinces the patrol ship to leave so they can salvage the area. And then he wakes up Captain Thines or Thines? Tynes.
No
Tins.
Thines, I think.
Thines, okay.
I don't know.
And then somebody picks up on the radar, and it's a Star Destroyer, which is when my ears perked up. And Captain Thine decides to go on board the Star Destroyer and investigate to see if he can pick up anything of worth. So they're kind of, these guys, the crew is really, I mean, we spend a lot of time with them. Did anyone else get, this is funny because we were having a conversation about this guy off mic, but did anyone else kind of get James Cameron Aliens, like Space Marine vibes from them?
I did not personally.
Or maybe they were more of like the Nostromo crew, right? Not the Nostromo. What was the name of the ship in Alien?
Yeah, Nostromo. Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was the name of the ship they find.
Oh no,
Prometheus. Yeah. So Captain Thanes and Digley, they enter the Star Destroyer, and there's like a foul stench. So now we have a foul stench on board a Star Destroyer. Just saying. And sorry. And then something heads towards them, and they're killed. They're both.
I'm pretty sure the foul stench was on the Death Star, not a Star Destroyer.
Oh, that's very true.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait. Okay, yeah, never mind. I was going to say, like, was there a Star Destroyer in Star Wars? But yeah, it's like the first thing you ever see.
Right.
So the TARDIS lands in this, like, cool bazaar. I know this isn't right, but I kind of pictured that place that Maisie Williams lived in Face the Raven.
Oh, yeah.
/ the place in The Beast Below. That was kind of what my mind's eye sort of conjured. Yeah. Sure.
So,
there's this merchant, but the merchant is like making weird, kind of like half flirty, but also kind of like half like I'm going to eat you and sell you comments towards Charlie, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so they have a kind of a comical exchange. She's like, I'm going to go meet up with the doctor, who also hasn't found anything. Then they check out another shop, and they decide to look around. They meet a shopkeeper whose name is Ike, which I thought was a great name for a Doctor Who character. Alien. I'm Ike. So they say, like, hey, we're customs officers, so, we're gonna just, have a look-see. And the doctor comes across a recorder, but not that kind of recorder. And the Doctor and Charlie then see a golden-plated Cyberman head in the shop, and the Doctor immediately recognizes it. Right?
Yeah, which is weird because Cybermen are allergic to gold.
What?
Maybe it's like a war trophy.
Why are they allergic to gold?
Yeah, they just are.
Yeah, that's
just
their
a
weakness.
Thing. Yeah.
Their weakness is gold?
Yeah, you haven't seen that because they never do it in the new series, but like in the old series, it's all about the Cybermen being allergic to gold. And we haven't done Cybermen in the old show yet, have we?
Weirdly, no.
I don't think so.
Wait, no, we did that Sixth Doctor one. We did Attack of the Cybermen.
Oh yeah, with the hand, yeah.
Right, okay. but there is no gold involved in that story, I don't think.
What a weird...
Well, you see, they're silver, so the only thing... And they're all about being the absolute best version of a living being.
Of
and
themselves.
So... Right, and so, of course, their one weakness is the one thing that is better than they are, which is gold.
Silver and gold. Silver and gold.
It's thematic, you see.
Yeah, well, those Cybermen, they love thematic irony.
Right.
That would be like if the Daleks were allergic to, like, well, they are allergic to stairs, but, like... Get that away from me! Why?
They don't like touching.
They don't like touching. They don't like hugs. Wouldn't that be great if one episode just the Doctor just tried to hug a Dalek? It was like, no, my cold heart.
The Daleks are very cat-like.
Yeah. Oh, maybe that's why I love them so much.
Yeah, maybe.
They're just
maybe
big.
because I just want to snuggle a Dalek.
Right. Even though they don't want to, just like a cat.
Yeah, and it kind of makes you want to do it. It kind of makes you want to hug one more.
Right. Just shut up. You want this. Stop.
Love me. But like with a dog, sometimes like when when like it's the morning and you're making your coffee and the dog's like, hey, I love you, and you just move, stop, and you're just kind of like moving him away with your foot.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Ike contacts another man named Grash, and he's like, hey, I'm kind of worried about Thines and Digley and the Silver Jackal in general. And Grash is like, I order you to calm down. And Ike's like, I don't know, I'm just worried. And there's these weird individuals that are wandering around my shop. And one of them's Paul McGann. And Grash is like, oh, dude from Withnell and I. And he's like, yeah, no. And then he tells Ike the Captain Oberman has been transferred to the Vanguard, and that they actually have a new captain that's been brought on board. And he's like, hey, you need to leave the shop and get to the docking bay and meet this new captain, because I'm not going to be alone with like a new person. That's really weird. Back in the shop, Charlotte's like, so tell me about the Cyber War, because the Doctor's like, oh, Cybermen had, and then Paul McGann's like, well, it was a very long war. The Cybermen remained in their tombs, and there they stay. And Charlie's like, hey, where's Ike? And Charlie thinks he's gone off to like get the smuggler friends to like beat them up, and the Doctor's like, no, Ike wouldn't do that. And she's like, well, you did tell him what the TARDIS was and where it is, so like maybe he's going to get that. And the Doctor's like, oh man, I think I goofed. So so they take a grav pad. And they also take a book of remedies, because they're like, well, if he's going to steal something from us, we're going to steal something from him. And and there's this really funny line where Charlie's like, oh, Doctor, it's stolen. He's like, oh, we can't know it's stealing. Like, oh, it's probably stolen anyway. I like McGann in this episode.
Yeah.
He's, we keep referring to him as like the ultimate Doctor. Mm-hmm. And I think that comes through again. He's just the perfect, it's like there is a chemical equation, right, for the Doctor,
Mm-hmm.
And it's like he has to be X amount of cheeky, X amount of smooth, X amount of weird, X amount of brash, X amount of egotistical, like all those, things that go in the soup that is the Doctor. And every one of them is just a little too much this or not enough this. But then, like, McGann, they just weirdly got the recipe, like, just right.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's not even my favorite Doctor, but I do think he's the ultimate Doctor. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So, so meanwhile, at the docking bay, there's a man named Vol who contacts the Vanguard captain. The captain is like, how are the supplies doing? And Vol's like, they're in place, but I have to check them. The captain's like, that would take too long. We're just going to load immediately. And they're like, that's against procedures. And the captain's like, yeah, I'm that kind of captain. So strap in.
I'm a cool
the Doctor
captain.
and Charley. I'm a cool captain. I'm not like the other. I'm gonna let, if you want to smoke outside, I'm totally gonna let you smoke. So the Doctor and Charlie get to the grav pads, and Charlie's like, this is fun, and they head to the warehouse where the TARDIS is still there. And then they see, but it's being loaded into the Vanguard as cargo. And so the Doctor tells Charlie that they have to get on board before it takes off. And then Ike gets on board, and the captain's name is Captain Jensen. And they're like, oh no, it's Paul McGann and his girlfriend. Go, go, go. And they blast off.
Paul McGann and his girlfriend.
So it turns out it's okay. So the Doctor and Charlie were able to stow away thanks to the sonic screwdriver. And then they're like, well, let's go find my TARDIS. And then Charlie feels like a weird vibration on the wall. And he's like, oh, it's from some sort of interstellar drive. The ship's moving hella fast. And and he's like, oh, it's a scrap ship. That's why I wonder why they're in such a hurry. And like they're almost there. But then they hear a weird noise, and they're like, oh, I hope something's wrong. Hope nothing's wrong with the engines. Meanwhile, on the bridge, an alarm sounds, and they cut the engines off. And then the doctor's like, well, we better get off this ship because, these guys are not smart. They're cutting off the engines mid-thing. So, yeah, they pick up something on the radar, and it's the abandoned Star Destroyer from the cold open. And Jensen's like, go to it, but the engines have been cut off. So he's like, okay, initiate the hyperdrive. And then they're like, we can't keep doing stuff like this. And they cut the engines off. And then Jensen's like, I made a command, and I'm a cool captain, so do what I say. And so finally the Doctor and Charley come to the TARDIS, and they get inside of it. And the Doctor goes back to his console, and he gets a visual. He enters like a visual transmission to the Vanguard, and so he'll be able to see what they see. Like up on the bridge of the thing. And then they see the Star Destroyer, and he's like, and Charlie's like, oh, Doctor, it's moving towards us. And he's like, no, the Vanguard is moving towards it. So the Doctor rushes to the... So he's like, we gotta go. And then the TARDIS stops suddenly, and he sees that it's been caught in the warp field of the Vanguard, and they can't travel away. Yeah, so the energy dissipated, and the TARDIS materialized. It's cold. And Charlie's like, I sense a foul stench. And they're like, oh no, a foul stench. That must mean we're in the Star Destroyer. And indeed they are. The crew members are having what are you guys? Okay, so like they're at this point we kind of know. Okay, so like we meet Chev, who's cool, and Kelsey, who's less cool. So like that's pretty much everyone. What do you guys think of these characters so far?
In the first episode, I don't know. I think they all sort of have similar voices.
Yeah,
for the most part. One is like a little whinier than the others, but that's about it. And one what's his name is really angry, but that's about it.
I mean, and boy does he get angrier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're on the Star Destroyer, and then they hear a weird howling sound. Kelsey finds the TARDIS. Kelsey is just not a very Doctor Who name.
Yeah.
It'd be like if there was like a guy on the TARDIS named like Zach.
Well, it's their last names, right?
Oh, that's true. And then Kelsey says like, oh, someone's headed for us. Like someone's coming towards us. And then a voice says, destroy. And we all know what that means. And that's the end of part 1. So I will say my main problem with this episode, and what I think I'm learning about my taste when it comes to these audio adventures, is monsters don't really translate well to audio. Like when it's just roaring and then a character screaming, it's like not as narratively interesting to me as like the scenes where where the characters are exploring.
Right. I mean, there's a reason that Big Finish, the way that they tell stories, has done a lot in the process of me learning what to do and not to do in Geek by Night.
Of course. Yeah.
So, that's an example of what not to do is how this episode ends.
Oh boy, yeah. Okay,
yeah.
So part 2.
Okay, so part 2. There's a guy screaming, and Captain Jensen, she's freaking out, and her crewmates, I guess, are responding that Kelsey is in some sort of trouble and they need backup. So Captain Jensen says that she and this guy named Vol are going to join them on the ship. And the Doctor and Charlie hear a scream as well, and they go and find the TARDIS, and they find this. Apparently, he's very mangled and gushy. And the doctor checks for a pulse, and it sounds really gross. And this guy's bleeding to death, and they don't know like why he's injured. And he's still alive, but very like just barely.
Which is weird because the visual they create through their dialogue and the sound effects does not make it sound like this dude should still be alive.
Yeah, it sounds like he got like smashed to a literal pulp,
or like turned inside out.
Yeah, it's not a happy time for this guy.
What's his name? Like Brian?
Kelsey?
Yeah, it's like, Kelsey. It's the name you didn't like.
Oh, but the doctor calls him by his first name because it's like, oh, poor first name.
I think it's Mark or something.
Poor Mark. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Mark Kelsey.
He has like a name tag on his spacesuit.
Stupid name.
He has a name tag on his spacesuit, and they're like, oh, well, he must be one of the crew members of the ship. They are trying to figure out, you know, who did this to this poor dude, and they hear footsteps, and poor Mark, and they hear footsteps, and Chev and Grash show up for backup, and they're really scared, and rightfully so if their teammates all like dismembered and whatever. And the doctor's like, hey, this guy needs a doctor. This guy needs medical attention. But they're like freaking out because they think that they killed their friend because their hands are covered in blood and blah, blah, blah.
There is nothing I hate more than the Vernon Dursley character accusing anyone of murder in any fictional thing.
Yeah.
You're standing there, so obviously you did it. No, because that's not what murderers do.
Yeah.
They don't kill the person and then stand there and wait for someone to show up.
Yeah, like Adnan didn't wait like in the car with Hay. Anyway. Yeah.
Just stupid.
And he like tells him to shut up like 5 times.
Yeah.
I really hate that trope.
Well, yeah, but you know why? It's because it's I think you don't like that for the same reason that my trope that I never like is amnesia.
Oh yeah.
For the same reason that I think your thing is, which is that it's narrative quicksand.
Right.
It's just like wheels spinning in mud. Like, we know they didn't murder them. We know who this character that has amnesia is. And now we just have to wait until the characters catch up to us.
Right.
And it's like never fun.
Right.
Yeah.
That's why I hate the Bourne movie. No.
Yeah, the other trope I hate is when something could be solved with a very simple explanation and the character refuses to say the very simple explanation. Perfect example of that is anytime anyone found out that Angel was a vampire on Buffy or Angel, they would flip out and try and kill him, and he would never say, no, it's cool, I have a soul.
Yeah, well, because he's tortured an Angel.
Ugh. I know, but I hate that trope. I hate it. And he's not the only character that ever does that. It's just the one that was like the most guilty of that stupid trope.
Or like when someone thinks that a kind of weird character is like a monster.
Yeah.
Like, you're a monster. And it's like, I'm not going to stand up for myself.
Right. Oh, man.
So, this
Network
guy's
TV
yelling
sucks.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting at.
So, this angry guy named Grash, and he has Rash in his name for a reason. So he's like, oh, you murdered my friend. And then the doctor's like, hey. Yeah. The doctor's like, this guy is literally dying. And he checks his pulse again. And he's dead now.
Yeah, weirdly, that guy died. Well, they were
so weirdly, the guy that was just a pile of gooey flesh died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we lost him.
So
the last thing he heard was just these his friends arguing with strangers.
And not
Telling them
getting
to
into a
shut up.
doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
The last thing that guy heard before he died was Vernon Dursley being like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up,
Shut up, woman.
everyone, shut up!
Oh,
I'm
Grash.
talking, shut up!"
I'll miss you most of all, Grash.
Yeah.
So, the captain is like, "Hey, what's going on? Turn on your police body cameras." And Grash is like, "No, I'm gonna kill this guy," because he's like the security officer naturally. And then the captain's like, "No, turn on your cameras and let me see what's going on." And they're just like, "Oh, our friend's dead, and these guys are bloody. Let's kill them." And she's like, "No, that's fine. Just bring them on board and we'll question them." And Charlie's like, "Oh, thank God there's a woman in charge."
But thank God there's a woman in charge.
Yeah. So
I'm Charlie, I'm from the 30s, and I almost died on a plane.
So there.
What's that about? Doctor, she does that whenever
She has a theme song.
she has her own theme song.
So the Doctor and Charlie, they're brought on board the Vanguard, and Jensen orders our friend Ike to take Kelsey's body to medbay and check him out, what happened to him. And
Body being a loosely used term.
yeah, it sounds pretty solid when they drop him, but earlier it was really gushy. So the Doctor and Charlie, they're just like, "Yeah, we're just travelers, and we're just, on this ship, and we're looking around." And Captain Jensen's like, okay, so lies. And suddenly, one of the other crew people picks up this weird transmission, but he doesn't know where it's coming from. And so Jansen orders Grash to scan them for bugs. And they find the sonic screwdriver, and they're like, "What is this?" And the Doctor's like, "Well, it's my sonic screwdriver. It's not doing anything." And the transmission's still happening, so Jansen's like, "Okay, well, I'll hold on to these till I figure out what's going on with you guys." And the Doctor sees something kind of moving. I can't tell if it's like on the ship or in the ship, or outside the ship, but he sees something moving. And he's like, "Oh, what was that?" And everyone's like, "You think we're gonna fall for that?" And he's like, "No, I saw something." And they don't know what he's talking about. And Grash is like, "Oh, maybe they're androids." And Jensen's like, "Nah, that's silly. There's no androids here." And the lights go out, and there's some power failure. And the Doctor's like playing Sherlock Holmes, so he's just like, "Oh, well, let's look outside and see, see what's going on with this." So he goes to the maintenance hatch, and they look, and something's burned a hole into the hatch, and there's scratches that were also outside, or like in the area of the ship that the Doctor saw something. And so whatever broke into the ship has this really high focus laser, plasma energy death ray, and it melted part of the metal, and it's messing with the communications and the power, and it's going through the ship pretty quickly. So they're trying to figure out what's going on, and the captain gives the Doctor permission to go and look with another crew member. And they leave Charlie alone, and Charlie's like, "Well, I'm sorry that your friend died, but we didn't kill him," because they're still accusing them. And so the Doctor messes around in the hatch, and then he comes back, and he notices that one of their backpacks has a weird scratch mark on it that also correlates to the scratch mark on the the hole. So the Doctor's like, "Oh, it's something hitched a ride on your backpack, and it's broken into the ship." And so they are going to reroute the power through the life support cables or some other ship I don't know, jargon. And so,
Sure.
yeah, they're going to try and get the power back. And Charlie's like, all right, so when we're done with this, we're going to go back to the TARDIS, ? And they're like, yeah, sure. That's what you think. So, they go and fix that, and the systems are back online, but there's like a signal coming from the Star Destroyer, and Jensen asks the Doctor to go on the Star Destroyer because she's really focused on whatever is over there, and she wants to figure it out so she can, like, salvage the ship and be on their way. And I guess Grash doesn't like this, and he, like, mutinies, and he's like, I'm in charge now, and Jensen's like, all right, well, cool, whatever, go and fly the ship back home. And then they try and start the ship, but the engines are dead. And the Doctor's like, well, we got to figure out what's going on over there anyway, so I guess me and Jensen are going to go on the Star Destroyer. And Grash is like, well, Charlie will stay here, and we'll, like, keep her hostage or something. And so they go to the Star Destroyer, and the Doctor is like, hey, so why did you come over here? And she's like, well, you know, this is a lot of money, and, you know, other stuff. And the Doctor hears a noise, and on the Vanguard, Ike and Grash kind of discussed the Doctor and Charlie, and Ike was like, hey, so these were the two guys that were in my shop, but they didn't say anything, so I don't know, I don't trust them because they have my back. And Grash is like, well, you know, we should keep not trusting them because they could blow this whole thing wide open, whatever they're doing, like they're smuggling. And the engines are still unresponsive, so they go and try and repair the main engine, and they make Charlie go down into where where there was, like, damage in the main engine, and they're trying to get Charlie killed, so, like, it's just easier for them to deal with whatever. And on the Star Destroyer, the Doctor runs into a Cyberman, and the Cyberman's like, blah, 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 and he's kind of, like, gone rogue, and he, like, lunges to attack them, but the captain shoots it, and it falls to the floor, and the Doctor fiddles with it, and he's like, oh, this Cyberman, like, was in hibernation, and he woke up all wonky, and now he's just killing people. And the captain's like, oh, I thought they were extinct, and the Doctor's like, well, apparently not. And the signal that we were picking up on the Vanguard is coming from, or it appears to be coming to, like, the Cyberman's, like, faceplate. And the Doctor's like, oh, there must be a Cybermat on board, which I love Cybermats. The Cyberman kind of, like, jerks to life again, and the Doctor's like, oh, shoot it, I'm sorry, I was messing with the computer bits, and, you know, something happened. Yeah, hello, I am awake now. And
it's me, your favorite guy.
So the captain's like, well, there must be other Cybermen on board if there's a Cybermat on my ship. And then we listen to some other Cybermen, and they are, like, talking about Cyberman stuff, and they revive their cyber leader, and that is how this episode ends.
Yeah. Except that their leader isn't finished being restored. So he wakes up and he tells two other Cybermen to go to the Vanguard to go investigate the Vanguard while he finishes his restoration. And then the Doctor and Jansen, they find a locked door, and it's connected to some sort of really big chamber. And so they're like, I bet something important's in here. So they bust it open, and that foul stench hits them, and they realize that the foul stench is the rotting corpses of 1,000 bodies that are in this room, and that it is a cyber control center where they were in the middle of converting the humans on this Star Destroyer, the crew, into Cybermen, when some sort of ion storm must have caused a malfunction that cut the power and stopped everything mid-cyber conversion. And so there's just a bunch of rotting corpses in this room, like 1,000 of them.
As you do.
Yeah. So it smells real bad. And then, meanwhile, Grash, so like Charlie's hanging out with that one guy, and Grash orders him to just let the Cybermat kill Charlie. Cause he's like, look, it's just going to be easier.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Whatever.
Just let her die, and then we don't have to worry about it. It's not our fault, and it's great. And the guy's like, I mean, she seems cool. I don't like this. So he's like, have it kill Charlie, and then destroy it. But like, don't destroy it first, because we want her dead.
Yeah, kill Charlie.
Right, kill Charlie. And then Grash and Chev, they hear an airlock open, and they go over there.
Like Gears of War characters, don't they?
Yeah.
A little bit, yeah.
Grash, Chev, Jensen.
Right.
Sharkman.
They hear an airlock. They hear Street Sharks.
Street Sharks.
They hear an airlock open,
You guys
and
remember Biker Mice?
Biker mice? No.
Vaguely.
Google it.
So Grash and Chev hear the airlock, and they go over to the airlock expecting to see the Doctor and Jansen, and they find Cybermen. Chev manages to run away, but Grash gets taken away, and is the Cyberman says to the other one, like, let's put the cyber controller on this guy. And then finally, the cyber leader is fully revived, and he asks about why the delay, and they explain about the ion storm and stuff. And he's like, okay, well, waste not, want not. We got humans on the ship, so let's get cybering. And they're like, okay, good idea. We're Cybermen. That's what we do.
Cyber's gonna cyber.
Cyber's gonna cyber. So yeah, he's like, let's convert these humans. And then Chev, like having run away, goes and she finds Charlie and Vol and tells them about Grash being killed by the Cybermen, presumably. And they're like, that sucks. And then security, the Cybermen get the security systems back online, and they see two life forms as Doctor and Jensen are sort of like investigating the Cybermen and figuring out what's going on, and they realize they've been had and are like, okay, we should run for it and hide. That seems like a good idea. So they're going to run away and hide. Meanwhile, Charlie realizes that the Cybermat must have been the thing that sabotaged the engines. They shut the Cybermat down. And now they're like making fun of it because they both think it's adorable. And,
which, to be fair, it is.
Yeah. And then, and she's like, this is probably the thing that sabotaged the engines. And then Grash shows up and he's like, hey, and they're like, whoa, well, we thought you were dead. He's like, yeah, no, I got away. And they're like, did you? You killed two?
Kill that one was never alive.
Yeah, right. So he's like, yeah, I got away. And they're like, oh, okay. He's like, yeah, I killed him. Really? And they're like, yeah, we should just kill them. Let's fight them. And we can kill them. They're like, I mean, all right, sure. And then Charlie's like, this is weird, guys. And they're just like, we got to listen to him because he's like the boss, because I guess he has a gun. Yeah. And he said so. So she's like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't have any, I'm not going to stand here by myself, so I guess I'll go with you guys. And then Doctor and Jansen are in their hiding place for a long time. They're like, why hasn't anyone found us? And they're like, well, let's leave the hiding place because just standing here isn't going to do any good. So they leave the hiding place, are immediately attacked by Cybermen, which Jensen shoots and kills both of them with her gun. And the Doctor's like, whoa, what the hell kind of gun is that? And she's like, a good one. And he's like, okay, all right, fair enough. So then Charlie and the crew, they meet up with the Doctor and Jansen. They explain what the Cybermen are. Mm-hmm. And the Doctor says that really cool line about they upgrade the soul out of them, or whatever it is that he says. It's a cool line, I think.
Yeah, like surgically remove the soul or something.
Right, yeah. It's a pretty good description of the Cybermen. I like it. And Charlie's like, okay, well, I don't like Cybermen, and the Doctor's like, neither do I. That's why you're my
least favorite thing.
After the Daleks and the Master. So then Jensen gives everybody orders and is like, you go here, you go there, you guys go there. I'm going to go off by myself. And they're like, that seems weird. Shouldn't you have someone? And she's like, nah, I got my gun. I'm good. So she leaves and the Doctor and the crew are like, so Jensen's weird, right? Anyone notice how weird she is? She has that gun. That's really good. And everyone's like, I guess. And then Chev is like, yeah, you notice that she never has to like brush her hair or shower or anything like that?
And she's like, no.
And everyone's like, no, we haven't noticed that. She's like, well, it's true. So like apparently like her hair is never messed up and everyone's like, I mean, look at all of us. Like we're a mess. We're garbage people. And she's always clean and smells real good. And it doesn't really make any sense. What's the deal with that?
I think there's an unrealistic standard here.
Yeah. And the Doctor's like, that is weird. Meanwhile, Jensen finds a computer console on the on Starkiller Base and starts looking through it for information on the Doctor. And she finds stuff about where he's from and the TARDIS and all these things. And she's like, very interesting. We literally cut back to her like 3 times and she just finds one more detail each time.
Sure.
But that's what happens the whole time. And then Cybermen are starting to come through the airlock again. And they're like, oh my God, only Jansen's gun can save us. And they call up Jansen. And they're like, hey, Jansen, only your gun can save us. And she's like, oh God, you guys are so annoying. Fine, I'm coming.
You guys are so needy.
Yeah. So she comes, she's like, all right, I'm coming. And then she starts going. And then the Doctor's like, or it is an airlock. So there's 2 sets of doors. Why don't we trap them between them? And he does that. And he's like, see, they're trapped. Perfect. And they're like, oh, okay. I mean, I don't know how you did that, but I guess you used Doctor powers. And he's like, I sure did. And also, I know that Grash is under cyber control. And everybody's like, what? And Jensen's like, I knew it. I knew that guy was a dick the moment I met him. I'm going to go kill him myself. And they're like, why? Why would you do that? And she's like, because I have this gun. It's cool. You guys know about it. And so she runs off to go kill Grash. And the Doctor and the rest of the guys, they start investigating this Garazone Space Patrol file because they're like, well, there's obviously something more to whatever's going on. So let's do a little investigation. So they start looking into it and they start getting a little bit of information about androids and stuff. And then security locks them out of it and shuts down the computer. And they're like, well, that sucks. And then Chev, who has wandered off by herself, gets attacked by a Cyberman.
And she screams.
So, same cliffhanger twice.
Yeah.
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 So there's that.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, this is only my second one, but I don't know. It doesn't really... Like, Storm Warning had some really not cool, but, like, interesting characters, Like, I was like, oh, that guy, you know what I mean? Like, I want to hear that guy again,
Right.
And I don't know, so far none of these, like, space thieves have really, I don't know. I mean, like, they're not really that strong. And, like, 2 hours is a big commitment for... a story where you only like 2 of the 8 characters.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't know. I don't think Charlie's been given enough to do at this point, in my opinion.
She doesn't have a lot in this story, that's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, especially compared to her first adventure.
Right.
Okay, so part 4. the doctor asks if, like, hey, are androids, like, allowed to be in the Orion War? And Ike's like, I don't like what you're implying. But no, they were outlawed because, they started asking for equal rights as humans, and we weren't cool with that because we were like, well, if they have equal rights, then what about our equal rights? You know? And the doctor's like, you would be equal to each other. And Ike was like, yeah, but I'm just not cool with that. Like, I like to be more equal than people that are different than me. And the doctor's like, we're talking about something else now, aren't we? And Ike's like, and this is actually what kind of set the Orion War in motion. Is the Orion War ended up being some kind of like the Orion War ended up being some kind of like cyborg rights revolution. So the doctor asks why the war in the Orion system, and he's like, well, so the androids gave up on the, they were like, you guys suck, humans suck, you've always sucked, you never haven't sucked, so we're gonna flee to the Orion system, and they gave the humans like an ultimatum: accept androids as equals, or get the hell out. Get the heck out. Get out. And so this we were like, well, that's against the Galactic Charter where it says humans are the best always. So this means war. So it's been 8 years. There's no signs of victory. And the doctor's like, God, why do I hang out with you people so much? And he's like, but, oh, wait, there's something. And then he asks if the command computer module is on the Secura scan. And he's like, I think that Jensen is up to something. Speaking of things that aren't androids. So the Doctor and Charlie head off to find it. And then Ike gets a hold of Jensen. And he's like, hey, where's Chev? I heard her scream horrifically, but now I can't find her. And then Ike sees that there are two figures heading towards Jensen. Again, like, I'm just getting super Aliens vibes from a lot of this. Like the scene in Aliens where they're right on top of you, and there's like dots coming, Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If that's what they're going for, it's not executed correctly. What's weird is that, like, I don't know. I'm not getting alien vibes or aliens vibes because I'm not getting like a Marines like action vibe. Like, I'm getting like a murder mystery in a haunted house vibe from this story.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I got.
Oh.
What vibes are you getting, Cass?
Well, because they're like salvage, like smugglers. It's almost like a grittier Firefly for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
But like not as good or as fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it was about it that got me the like haunted house murder mystery vibe, but something about this got me in that headspace, and I really enjoyed it as a result. But I don't know. Keep going.
Like Event Horizon.
I never saw that.
Don't.
Okay.
Some people, it has a cult following, but I don't like it. Anyway, the Cybermen are like,
I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. And so the Cybermen are like, we now have two humans under our control, bleep blorp. And the cyber leader is like, use the cyber force.
Oh my God, Cybermen would be so much more amazing if they said bleep blorp after everything they said.
Totally. Like if that was their exterminate.
Resistance is useless, bleep blorp.
Bleep blorp, perfection is necessary, bleep blorp. They're like, they're like the Meeseeks.
Yeah.
They have to begin and end every sentence with, I'm Mr. Meeseeks, look at me.
Right. Oh God.
Man, the Doctor should meet the Meeseeks.
Bleep blorp.
Oh, wait, no, well, that's more Mr. Poopy Butthole, man.
Yeah.
No, I missed that show. So, Jensen's like, come friggin' help me. And then Vol finds Jansen, and he's like, hey, I think Grash is on the move, and I think he's looking for us, and also I think he might be a Cyberman. So Jansen's like, Ike, give the Doctor a gun, and, like, go help him. And the Doctor's like, no, I don't like guns, and so he leaves. He deuces. So he's like, fine, I'll take matters into my own human hands. These 2 human hands that I own that are human hands, they're mine now. And leaves, and like, I'm gonna go find the Doctor. They find Chev. Chev finds Vol, so Chev's alive. And she's like, hey, I found something. Look at this adorable little thing. And it's a Cyberman. And Vol's like, ah, and she screams. So the Doctor and Charlie find the computer module, the command center, and the Doctor's like, screwdriver, and they activate it and they find more information on it. And then a red light comes and scans the Doctor, and he's like, you're the Doctor. And Charlie's like, how did it know your name? And he's like, well, I guess Jensen's been gossiping about me. Ba-doop-ba-doop-ba-doop-boop. And he's like, then he's like, an operation is a code name Sword of Orion has been activated by an Earth security operative. And that operative has been given the alias of Captain Diva Jansen. I love that her last name's Diva. Diva Jansen is actually kind of a Star Wars name in a cool way, right?
Yeah. I think, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So he's like, spill the beans. Literally, he says, spill the beans. Tell me about Sword of Orion. And then the guy, my dumb brain was like, it'd be funny if the computer was like, I have no beans.
I have no beans, but I have information.
And I go, good, even better. So then the computer gets turned off, and Jansen's like, well, look who's knocking on my door. And the Doctor's like, you're using the Sword of Orion as a way for Jansen to recruit Cybermen in order to get you to win your war against the stupid humans, which is stupid. It's even almost as stupid as humans. And Jansen's like, you're out of order. And the Doctor's like, the whole system's out of order. And then Ike contacts the group and says like, hey, Vol and Chev and Grash and all those other amazing names are letting the Cybermen on board. And the Cyber leader is like, go, controlled humans, capture your friends. So yeah, so they go, so the Doctor, Charlie, and Diva go back to Ike's location, and Jansen tells everyone to put on the atmosphere suits and get the heck off of this Star Destroyer. Then a Cyberman comes into the room, and he's like, bleep blorp, and Jansen shoots him dead, and the Cyberman's like, no, my last words were bleep blorp.
Oh my god.
So, yeah. So the Doctor's like, Jansen, explode that wall. And they do, and they start floating in space. They escape. The Cybermen see the explosion, and they're like, oh, well, their only way to, the only place they can go before they run out of oxygen is our ship. So, blow up, bitches. Now we just sit and wait. So, yeah. So, oh, okay, we're coming. So this part was amazing. So Grash, who we've been hinting at is a pretty emotionally unstable dude.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so who's with Grash? Is it Chev?
It's
when this
Charlie,
happens?
right? Charlie. And
yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah. So Grash starts like. Do you remember? Have you guys seen Day of the Dead?
No.
It's been a while, but yeah.
Okay, you know that main bad guy when he's like, choke on me.
Oh yeah.
Choke. That's kind of what Grash. So Grash just like spazzes out and starts screaming, like, oh, stupid androids. Like, we make you. We made you. Attica. It's people. You'll all be guilty. And the Cyberman's like, Jesus Christ.
How many movies has he watched recently?
Yeah. So they're like, we're not even going to turn you into a Cyberman. You're so lame, and they kill him, and Grash dies. But it was just, man, that voice actor was really giving it his all, right?
Yeah.
I just kept picturing him just like in the booth, just like screaming bloody murder. So yeah. So they make it to the cybership hull, and they're surrounded by Cybermen. And Jansen's like, so, hey, Cybermen, give me your leader, or take me to your leader, huh? and I'll give you Paul McGann. And the Cybermen are like, Withnell and I is our favorite movie. Richard E. Grant was brilliant in that film. And the doctor...
We don't have Richard E. Grant. We have Paul McGann.
They're like, well, do you have... Who played Withnell? Wasn't it Uncle Vernon?
Was it?
Hold on, I'm going to Google this real quick.
I think you might be right.
It was Richard Griffiths. It was Richard Griffiths. He was like their alcoholic. Have you ever seen Withnell and I, Cass?
I have not.
It's really good.
It is good.
It's rich. It's the Great Intelligence, the Eighth Doctor, and Uncle Vernon just hanging out.
Oh my god.
And then Paul McGann turns to Jansen, and he was like, "I'm disappointed in you, Jansen. Very disappointed." And it hit me that, like, I think the worst thing that could ever happen to me is for the doctor to tell me that he was disappointed in me. Because, like, McGann just really sounds so like, oh, I thought you were cool.
I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed.
No, I'm not mad, Jansen. I'm just Which doctor do you think would be the most emotionally scarring for you personally to be, like, mad at you?
Definitely Paul McGann.
I think Tennant, maybe. Tennant or Capaldi.
Oh, Scott.
No, absolutely Paul McGann. Paul McGann would make me cry.
Aww.
It could have been Scott and I. Yeah. So the cyber leader's like, "Oh, sweet, we got that doctor brain now. But we can't return to our home world." And Jansen's like, "I'll help you get to your home world, Telos, which, as we all know, is the home planet of the Cybermen. In exchange for you, being like, if you be our France in this revolution, right? Aid us. Be our Lafayette. Help us out." And the cyber leader's like, "Okay, humans, go get converted and freeze the doctor." And then Jansen's like, "Sweet. Well, what about our agreement?" And the cyber leader's like, "What about us makes you think that we believe in, like, treaties and agreements and stuff?" And so the doctor's like, "Hey, before you do that, you should know that there's an ion storm coming, and, that'll disable your stuff." And the cyber leader's like, what if you use the power from the TARDIS and conjure up an energy force to counter the ion storm in exchange for releasing the humans? And then the ship starts to rumble. And it's like, see, that ion storm's already a coming. He's like, "Tell us where the TARDIS is." And the doctor's like, "Release the humans first." And the cyber leader's like, "You are so difficult to deal with." And then but then the Cybermen are like, "Fine." And then Jensen's like, "Right!" And Ike fires his gun, but then he's shot. And then Jansen is shot. And then Jansen's, like, injured as they try to locate the TARDIS. And she's like, "Everything I say will disappear like tears in the rain." And the doctor's like, "Wait a second. You're not bleeding. You're an android." And Jansen's like, "Yeah." What? Yeah. Anyway, so she, like, uses her cyborg stuff to, like, stabilize her wounds, and then she's like, "I'm a double agent. I'm not an ally to the Cybermen at all. I'm trying to obtain details about how to do cyber conversion, so maybe we can do it. And then the ion storm is getting worse and worse. And he's like, Jansen, you can come with me to the TARDIS, and I'll kick Charlie off under one condition. Erase the Cybermen's web browser history so they won't trace it back to the androids and go after him. And then Jansen's like, deal. And Charlie's like, what? And then Cyber Leader's like, all right, nobody move. And he's like holding Charlie at gunpoint, which is kind of like a weird Cyberman thing to do. Am I alone in thinking that? I don't know. Just like holding like a hostage is weird. Anyway. So the ion storm is now just beating the ship around, and there's a large hole, and everything's getting sucked out into space. And the Doctor's like, yeah, everyone get their helmets on. And Charlie couldn't get her helmet on because the Cyber Leader crushed her life support system. And then just as she starts to pass out, she notices that Jansen takes off her own helmet and gives it to Charlie just as the ship explodes. So Charlie comes to, they're on the TARDIS, and she's like, what happened to Jansen? Or the Doctor's like, what happened to Jansen? And Charlie's like, she sacrificed herself for us. And he's like, and she's like, it's pretty funny that the whole the Cybermen's whole deal was that they wanted to be better, perfect. But in doing so, they became monsters. But Charlie was an android who were considered...
Or not Charlie.
Or not Charlie, but Jansen was an android who was considered second class to humans. And she ended up being more noble and better than the Cybermen or the humans. And the Doctor says, shut up. And then the story ends. So
yeah, I don't know. I really like this story.
I really like it. It became something really cool. When I realized what it was about, in that humans and androids, and where the Cybermen fall into that, and oppression and revolution. That was all really part 4 was really interesting. I just wish that had kind of shown itself more in the earlier episodes.
Yeah, I think the problem with the characters is that they're based on comic book characters that were, their distinct characteristics were probably however they were drawn.
Right.
Right.
And so when you take that and put it on paper, it's like, oh, weird, all these characters sound the same.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's ultimately I'll agree that that's definitely a downside, is that the characters aren't super great.
And honestly, that final monologue, with Jensen sacrificing herself, and Charlie's monologue about her observation about the Cybermen is actually, to me, kind of the only way to tell an interesting Cyberman story. Mm-hmm. Is how does it reflect upon humanity, mm-hmm. and our own pursuit of perfection and what we consider to be better,
Uh-huh.
And it was funny, in those final moments, I was like, oh, that's how you do a great Cyberman story.
Mm-hmm.
And have them not just be zombie. Because the most Cybermen episodes that I've seen, granted they've all been in New Who, have been mostly just robot zombie movies.
Right.
And they're never really saying anything about... I mean, not that it needs to. But you know what I mean.
The first one said something about Bluetooth, but that's about it.
Yeah.
It's Bluetooth is stupid, isn't it? Look how stupid people look with Bluetooth.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Thanks, Russell T. Thanks.
It's about as political as I get.
So yeah, that's sort of Orion. Cass, what do you think overall?
It was a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the first couple parts were a little too convoluted for me, and then by the time it got to, like, the point, I was like, meh, I don't really care. But I always really enjoy Paul McGann and the actress who plays Charlie. So
I liked it by the end. It came together for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think for me it was like too little, too late.
Like the JoJo song.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, there's also a larger issue at play, which we won't really get to talk about in comparison until for a while. But Paul McGann does not belong in the 4-part structure the way that other doctors do. Yeah. Like when he switches companions, they also switch his format to single part 45-minute episodes like New
awesome.
Who.
Yeah.
And it's way, way better.
Well, that sounds fun.
Yeah. So that's what I said. Like I'm trying to go through and just pick sort of like a best of this Charlie era, so that we can get to Lucy as soon as possible. So
yeah, I'm excited. Lucy Miller.
Yeah, Lucy Miller.
Not to be confused with Lisa Miller.
Lucy Bleeding Miller. Cass, do you know much about Lucy Miller?
Not really anything at all. I've never heard any of the Lucy Miller stuff.
Oh my God.
And I've only listened to a handful of the Charlie stuff, so it's kind of uncharted territory. Yeah.
Oh, I'm pumped. Okay. I'm going to go back. I think I'm going to go back through my my Charlie episodes and double check and make sure there aren't any clunkers in there. Just so that if there are, I'll pull them out so we can keep on trucking.
Is the one with the spooky house on your list? Because that's one of
Yes,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay,
yes,
good.
of course. Yeah.
That one was awesome.
Yeah, it is. So that is it. So we'll be back with The Unquiet Dead